99% of the people say that happened to me. But the next question was, how many of you knew it was going to create a weird situation and you did it anyway? So in most healthcare environments or engagements are not that technical at all. They're very basic systems. They're actually terrible systems for the most part. But if the plan is good, the plan will work. What you can't always determine is how long it will take. But if the plan is good, it'll work.
Yeah.
And we accomplished so much. And it was really kind of like a startup business. We were entrepreneurs. Like no, and I don't think anybody in Kansas City actually knew where in the Middle East anybody was.
Deep dive into leadership, high performance culture, and the world of global healthcare innovation. My guest is someone whose journey is a true masterclass in grit, discipline, and impact. Mike Pomerance, previously VP and Managing Director at Oracle for Northern Europe and Latin America, with over 20 years in the industry, a Six Sigma black belt, driving change in healthcare across 2 continents, leading over 500 professionals, creating partnerships that improve care for millions. Get ready for real lessons, real stories, and real inspiration. Welcome back to Level Up. I'm your host, Hakeem. I'm honored to have you. We've been in touch for so long. I had the pleasure of a glimpse of a small period working with you, but also you have been as well my client for so long. Thank you for your time. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It should be a good time. I've enjoyed all of our conversations sort of off camera, so it'll be nice to see how things come out today.
Yes, yes, absolutely. No, I'm really, really looking forward to it. You have an amazing journey with really lots of learning, lots of lessons. We're gonna have different segments, and we can jump deep dive on it. But before that, take us back to the beginning. Like, what really moment in early in your career changed your direction and made you decided to go that direction?
Yeah, so my father was an entrepreneur, and so he had a company that actually started the same year that Cerner started in 1978, and he created also a healthcare information technology company. So I've always been around healthcare technology, really from a very early age. And I remember when I was about 12 years old, I was pulling cables, old serial cables through Miami Children's Hospital at the time. Now it's is of course by a different name, but that was, I think, the start of me understanding that, if you have more power, if you have more authority over what to do, you can make decisions, you can make changes. And throughout my career, really, I've looked for opportunities where that existed. So I never really have been a fan of super large companies. It's sort of interesting that I'm now with Oracle, or soon not to be. But in general, I always look for little small companies where I could do a lot of little things in a lot of different areas to help me be able to influence the company's growth. So that's really what started, was understanding that if you had that authority and you used it wisely, you could do a lot of good things.
Nice, very nice. We continue really in your journey. You have built 20 years career across different regions, cultures, and industries. When you look back, what were some of this like main chapters that really shaped the leader you are today?
Yeah, I would say people would classify me as an emotional leader, very connected to my people. That's really my focus, and so I think it really started at an early age. For some reason, as a child, I always wanted to help people. I always wanted to see them grow, and so that part has always stayed with me. This notion that people are important. Maybe it was because my parents got divorced at an early age, and therefore I was with a lot of new people all the time. I don't know. But then I would say the second thing that really shaped my career, or who I am today as a leader, is when I worked for the Domino's Pizza. So I was in the food service industry, and they teach you very much that customer service is the most important thing. So when you deal with, customer service being the most important thing and that being your focus, if you look at trying to help people, then you just have to find an opportunity to apply those principles. And really, Cerner gave me that opportunity. I mean, I was with Cerner before it was bought by Oracle for 21 years. And I had 17 different jobs across those 21 years. So I've got to do a lot of little things. And really, once you demonstrate that you can make things better, typically leadership just wants to give you more and more things. And so that's really how I've become who I've become as a leader.
I can definitely confirm and agree with that. You have been such an inspiring leader, and really the human part is really important for you. I tested myself when I worked with you for a very little bit, but you were always on the top of everything, and you really give me that feeling that no matter what's happening, you really wanted to help me. You really wanted to do your best. So I can definitely agree that, and I think that's one you really unique. You hold a Six Sigma black belt. I know
Yes.
a little bit, but I'm sure maybe a lot of audience doesn't understand what is that. But what is it, and something many leaders doesn't have? But I want to really learn from you about this.
Sure. So Six Sigma is just it is a methodology to measure improvement. So it's a bunch of mathematical equations. So before I got my Six Sigma degree, as I talked about before, I really like to fix problems. I mean, I am the problem fixer. My wife doesn't like that I'm the problem fixer. I should leave her problems alone. But at work, I am the problem fixer, and I always sort of looked at my instincts as a way to measure. And did it get better? Did it not get better? Okay, let's adjust this. Let's adjust that. And so when I saw that Cerner was encouraging people to get the degree, I seeked it out, and really, it is a methodology, a set of calculations that basically confirms your instinctual beliefs. So I believe this is bad, or I believe this is getting better. It's a way to measure it in a much better way, and it gives you a lot of techniques to be able to improve things from maybe you don't have experience in different types of processing or manufacturing, and it really helps you understand if the thing you're trying to do is getting better or not. So it is a way to confirm your instinctual beliefs. And while I don't use it every day, I don't use the equations every day. Certainly the methodologies that it has taught you is something that you would use even in your personal life.
That's really good to hear. I'm gonna absolutely check this out in more details. Maybe I'll get on myself as well.
There you go.
Was there a moment when everything like went wrong? Something in your career, something in one of the jobs, and you had to step back, adopt, reinvent yourself?
Yeah, I would say not so much for myself. I mean, there's plenty of stories where I've had to change, but I would say that probably the lesson that taught me the most was the lesson that a great friend of mine, Dick Flanagan, who used to work for Cerner, taught me when I was much younger. So in my early career, I thought I was competing against everybody. If you're on my team, I'm competing against you. If you are on the other team, I'm certainly going to compete against you. But even if I was on Dick's team, which I was, that he had a lot of other leaders, and I was quite aggressive towards a lot of people. In fact, in Dick's words, he says, "You are too arrogant. You are dismissive." And
Yeah, I don't believe that.
he actually gave me a needs development because he said that your behavior is just not conducive to good team play, and it really upset me, and I really was super upset. And he told me, he said, "If you want to quit, I understand, but if you want to learn, you can stay, and let's go figure this out." And I would say that was the best piece of advice I could ever get, was to be told that I was doing things wrong and I shouldn't behave that way. And ever since that moment, I really take a really strong focus on other people. I really give them an opportunity to speak their mind because I don't want to be dismissive. And while I can come to a conclusion very quickly on a problem, others need more time, and I need to give them the time if I want them to grow also. It's easy for me to just tell somebody the answer, but if they never learn how to do it themselves, then I'm the one that always has to give the answer, and the team will never be as strong as it will be if they learn how to do their own answers.
Wow, this is really inspiring. I hope a lot of leaders listening to this, and hopefully they will. But you're absolutely true. Giving that confidence to the team and accountability drive the people, drive the person to do more and to trust more, and which absolutely I think it's not an easy habit to have. You have to be really confident. You have to be close to your team. You have to have a lot of actually skills to be able to practice that in real life, in real situation when
Mhm.
you have real issues and business or in life, problems. Really great advice. I'm inspired already. And going to your leadership, you've been leading teams across like continents, so which is absolutely inspiring. As I know from my experience with you, of course, Latin America and Middle East and Africa and Northern Europe, you've been leading teams for ages, and like I think 500. Is that correct? 500 people.
Yeah, I think there's about 400 now, but it's a but it's a significant number, sure.
But yeah, it's already like 400 people. That's a lot
Yeah,
of
it's still
people.
a lot. Yeah.
So what does a day at your level really look like?
Yeah, so I mean, if anybody, so the first thing that I would say is that, as a leader, I think being available to your people is the number one thing you should be focused on. So that is like I am overly available. So usually during the day, I'm meeting with people based on their request. So they ask to see me, to ask me questions, or to get advice, or to do these things. My schedule is open for people. I know a lot of executives, they have their calendars locked down and you need to go to their executive admin to
Yeah.
schedule a meeting. Mine's open. Everybody can see where I'm going. If I'm going to the doctor, they can see that, but then that allows them to schedule time with me. So I would say the majority of my time during the day is with my people. And then what they don't see is the stuff that I do at nighttime or early in the morning, which is really all the work that most people do during the day, which is going through your 150 emails or trying to get on social media, trying to see what's going on in the world. And I will say that some days I'm successful at doing that and some days I'm not. And so, I get behind on my email. So I tell people, I go, if you really want to talk to me, don't send me an email. Send me a text to my phone because I may not get it for 3 or 4 days, because I'm really busy working with my people.
That's really interesting. And you said it. I personally don't know a lot of leaders who's keeping in your level, of course, like keeping their calendar always open. And you're right, you have to go to their, assistant and make sure. So, and that's also a great blessing to the team, because when the top of the pyramids or the company is available, you can ask to reach out any question. You already setting a tone in the company or in the environment that my door is open, can come and ask anytime. And I believe in that. I don't remember when did I message you that you didn't reply, so I definitely agree with even I'm not
Yeah.
working with you anymore.
Yeah, and even when I welcome new employees into the organization and I tell them they can schedule me, there's usually somebody that says, "I looked at your calendar and there's no time, between the working hours." And I said, "You know what's always open? Between 5 p.m. at night and 8 a.m. the next morning. There's almost no appointments then, so feel free. You can schedule at any time of the day." And then they all usually laugh. But if you're not available for your people, then your people can get lost. And I just don't like to see, again, going back to my childhood where I really want to care for people. I want them to be well. It's actually very important for me for people to feel good about what they're doing. And if they're confused or stuck or frustrated, they cannot possibly be having a good time. And if they're not having a good time, then they need to come talk to me.
Wow. Wow. This is the lesson to everyone to hear. Definitely. You led multicultural cross-continent teams. What are the biggest differences in leadership style, communication, and motivation between, let's say, Europe and Middle East or Latin America?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest difference has been for me to learn how to work better with those organizations. So anybody who's been to one of my town halls understands that words are sort of my weapon. Like I love to speak, I love to present, and you typically use a lot of words. And when I learned is that like in Sweden, for example, or in Europe or in non-English speaking, even in Latin America, they understand English, but they don't understand it as well as you think they do. And in fact, in many cases, they look at you and they nod like they're understanding what you say, and they have no idea what you're talking about. So that was the first thing that I had to learn was, slow down, simplify the language, let them ask questions, seek out more questions, and then always give them the material afterward. And then they'll go back and read it on their own time. And they always come back with the questions. And there's always at least one misunderstanding. So I would just say be patient. It's not going to go as fast as it does with English speaking people, but they all want to accomplish something good. You just have to, maybe if it's going to take an hour in America, it might take 3 hours in a non-English speaking client. So you just got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, that's really good lesson as well. Creating culture, a culture of excellence, which absolutely you did. Inclusion across 10 countries, which in
Mhm.
your case is not easy. What kind of main principles or habits you rely on to make this work?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to just being available. So I'll tell you a story. So when I was in the Middle East, I had a guest speaker come in to teach the leadership team, a lessons in leadership, like you normally do, and it was one component that really stuck with me. The instructor said, there was a survey sent out to X number of people, 100 people, 1,000 people, whatever. And they wanted to know how many times have you been in a meeting or a dinner with your significant other or a friend, and something popped up on your phone and you looked at it and it created a weird moment, like
Like,
it created a weird situation. And of course, 99% of the people say, yeah, that happened to me. But the next question was how many of you knew it was gonna create a weird situation and you did it anyway? And the answer was like 97% of the people. So we know it's gonna create a problem, yet we still do it. And after that class, I really have been focused on being present with people. So right now, even like my phone is here, but it's turned down. Like I don't want to see the pop-ups. I have no notifications on my laptops. I don't know when people are sending me a message. I don't know when they're slacking
thank
me
you.
or linking in me. Like because I want to be here. Like I'm here giving you the time, and you
Thank
deserve the
you.
respect to be able to communicate without me like every 2 seconds looking for a message. But you'll be amazed how many leaders don't do that. And when you do that and you teach your managers to do that, amazing things happen because actually there's communication that takes place. People are listening, people are giving advice, people are paying attention. And in some cases, I don't even allow laptops in the room. People are like, well, I like to take notes. And I'm like, no, you don't need to take notes. This is a
Nice.
discussion. There's no notes needed. So turn off your laptop. Because if you don't focus people, then you run the risk of them not paying attention, not hearing what you're saying, and it's just not as effective.
This is incredible, Mike, and I hope a lot of leaders, or not even leaders, people do that. I'm looking at my phone because you are having a huge experience, and I had to prepare first. So these are questions I'm reading. I'm not looking into
Yeah, sure.
notifications.
But I mean, even in your private life, like
Yes,
people
you're
should
right.
like just turn over the phone. It'll be
Yeah,
there when you get back to it. But
you're
it is a
absolutely right.
hard habit to break. It is a hard habit to break, but it is probably the number one best thing that I've ever done as a leader.
I actually mirror you in that what I learned, and I started to do it already years ago with my kids. Like I looked also in a lot of books that I read, and one of the most important things when you are with your kids, especially when they are young age, put the phone away anywhere. It doesn't matter. Put it, in other room, or just don't look at it at all, because that also makes them feel as well that there's something more important. When you keep looking at the phone all the time,
Exactly.
they feel, okay, what is that piece of thing that is more important than playing with me?
Yeah,
So you're
exactly.
absolutely right. And if you do the same in a meetings or in a conference, it will make that connection stronger, even with the listening and
Absolutely.
focusing. And so you're absolutely right, especially in our world where everyone is on the phone like all the time. So it's
Hmm.
it's becoming more dangerous to kind of lose that habit, yeah, or difficult. Yeah, really,
Definitely.
Mike. I want to take, of course, advantage of your expertise in healthcare innovation, because it's definitely something that I'm planning to ask about, and I'll want to learn from you. We hear a lot about EHR, CRM, data, AI. The healthcare ecosystem is transforming fast. What's the one change coming that will completely reshape the patient's experience?
Yeah, the technology is certainly coming at us at a very fast pace. It is almost too fast. But I think it's the willingness of people to use new technology
Mm,
is going to be the thing that changes everything. I mean, to be fair, most patients are very good with technology today, unless they're extremely old or extremely young. Everybody has a phone. They know how to do things. They can switch between applications. Like it's very fluid. And most healthcare environments or engagements are not that technical at all. Like they're very basic systems. They're actually terrible systems for the most part as it compares to state of the art. So technology is going to come about, but like people have to be willing to use the
Use it.
technology. So I just gave a class the other day to some Oracle associates about the use of AI in my personal life. And I will tell you that I started trying to use more tools, chat bots and things of that nature, about a year and a half ago. And it took about a year for me to actually consider myself a fairly good user now of the technology. Like I don't make PowerPoints anymore from scratch. I have the computer give me the
Yeah.
starting point and I use it after that. Like there's really no point in me having to start anything from scratch anymore. But at first, when you first start using the technology, it almost feels like you're cheating. And people are like, well, I don't want to use chat GPT because that's like cheating.
True.
So I said, do you use a calculator? And they're like, well, yeah, of course. And you're like, isn't that cheating? Like, you should be able to do it on a piece of paper. Like, what do you need the calculator for? They're like, well, that's different. I'm like, it's just
The
a
same.
tool.
Yeah, it's true. It's correct.
It's
That's a
just a
great
tool.
example. Yeah.
So doctors have to be willing to start using the technology more. They have to be willing to change. I would say most clinicians that I meet are overworked. They have too much to do. Their leaders don't give them enough time to try something new. And as a result, they're stuck doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that just really needs to change. Even to the point where I used to have associates and we would give them a new tool and I'd say, how is the new tool working for you? They're like, I haven't had time to use it. And it's like, well, if you don't have time to use it, then you'll never have time. And
That's
so,
cool.
take a day off, go learn the new tool, and then
Yeah,
come back
definitely.
tomorrow and you can get the work done. And it
Definitely.
always works out better, but people have to be willing to try to use it. And I think that's the biggest obstacle.
And that's like in almost in every field, not only in healthcare. Like it's fast. There's a lot out there, and like you said, it's scary. People don't want to try it. People are used to certain ways. And if I look, for example, in a region like the Middle East, for example, I think it's like way behind in terms of using sort of apps or technology in
Hmm.
certain aspects. So I think it's like you said, you will have to be willing to use it. Otherwise, you're missing a lot. Because, like you said, in a personal life, I've been also using AI almost in daily basis. Of course, even with my podcast, I'm using tools to help me to kind of create chores and create editing. Because if I did it
Hmm.
from scratch, it's insane. It's a lot of time.
Exactly.
It's difficult. So why not? Yeah, you're right. People feel like it's cheating, but like it's
Definitely.
not actually. It's not. Everyone is using it, so you have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I guess that means if you're driving a car and you have a self-driving car, then that's cheating too.
Yes,
Like, you should not let the car drive itself. You have to drive it
you have to
yourself.
drive. Yeah, you're right. From your perspective, what slows down innovation in healthcare?
Yeah, I think it's the willingness to
The
change.
willingness.
Yeah, it's just the willingness to do things differently. And leadership really has to
Push for
make change because a lot of times what happens, especially in some of my European clients, is they put in the system 20 years ago and they don't change it every day. And the system has been the same for the last 5 or 6 years, exactly the same, no changes. So when you go to make a change, it's like a big deal. And
Hmm.
I think the best organizations, the ones who are able to make change happen more often, are ones that are constantly making a change, but on a predictable basis. So every Monday at this time, this thing is going to happen, and you're going to need to learn something on Monday morning because by noon, this new thing is going to happen. And if you get used to that, then it becomes normal. And then it becomes abnormal if you stop changing. And so once you can get the organization changing like that, then change will happen all the time. I mean, that's what happened with us in the Middle East. Nothing remained the same for very long. People found a new way to do something, a faster way to do something, a cheaper way to do something, and it was just the whole machine was just getting better, better, and better just day by day.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. It is definitely something that you have to take a part of it. You have to participate in technology and have the willing, because really, if you're not, you're missing out, and your competitor will be doing it as well. So
Exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly.
You deal with massive systems, multi-year partnerships, and high stakes implementations, like on a yearly basis, of course. What's the key to keeping the momentum when you change, when the change or it feel overwhelming sometimes?
Yeah. So a lot of my advice is like something you should learn like in kindergarten, to be honest. It's really, you
Basics, I
know,
love it.
I mean, because that's really what life is about. It is
Yeah,
about actually, it's like I think there's a joke that says everything you needed to learn about life you learned in kindergarten, which is like be nice, share your snacks, and take a nap often. And it's kind of the same way with business. Like I see so many people and companies that fight with one another because they don't communicate. They really just don't know how to talk to one another. Like I have numerous times somebody will come in my office and say, I'm mad at client A because they did something that wasn't nice to me. And I said, well, did you tell them that they were doing something that wasn't nice to you? And they're like, oh, I would never tell them that. I said, well, why, why
yeah.
not? Like in your personal life, if somebody did something mean to you, would you just, like a friend, would you just ignore it? And they're like, "Well, no, I would tell them like I did, like you hurt my feelings." And I'm like, "So tell your client that they hurt your feelings."
That's good, really good.
Because because if you do it in your personal life, why do you do it differently in
Yeah.
business? So I operate my business exactly the same way that I operate my personal life. If I'm upset about something, I tell you. If and I expect you to tell me if I did something that hurts your feelings and you don't tell me, I might do it again.
Mm.
So if you got to communicate, and it's so simple, yet for some reason in business, so difficult to do, and I don't know why, but it is difficult.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have this courage, to be transparent and to be. There's always that trying to avoid the emotions, which is absolutely
Hmm.
not in your case, because your leadership style is with emotions and you drive that emotion. But you're right. It's always about simplicity. I think when you're direct, straightforward, simple, transparent, this what always works. And I think this is for me at least what always worked also in all my career with you also. I remember in the early stages when I was trying to get the business or from Cerner. I think one of the best experience I had was dealing with you, because you were always honest, you were always transparent, and you always told me, Hakeem, this will work, this will not work, this is what we need, this is what we don't need, and it did
Yeah,
work. So you're right there. Yeah.
yeah, always.
What does the future look like for healthcare, especially with fast, crazy technology, AI, all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I have really high hopes for it. I think the computer's job that when it was really introduced in the late 70s, early 80s, and really through today, recent times, it's really been a way to collect data. Because without the information, it's really hard to make decisions. Like if you don't know how much gas is in your car, if there's no meter that tells you, then you have to guess. And maybe you're a good guesser, maybe you're a bad guesser, maybe you run out of gas, maybe you fill up too often. And so without this information, people have not been able to make good decisions about healthcare, long-term healthcare things for their patients, but it's become like such a burden. So the technology changes that are happening today are going to lift the burden and actually make it possible for a doctor in a normal conversation to be able to look at a patient, work with them, not be glued to the monitor over here, but actually have a conversation. The computer will record the whole conversation. It'll make the changes to the record, and it'll give summaries to the doctor so that they're able to know something about you. I mean, one of the biggest complaints doctors have after they've been using the system for a year or two is how can I possibly get in 5 minutes a summary of this patient who I've never seen before or I haven't seen in several months? You want me to read every note that's been made? You
Well,
want me to look at every result that's been entered? Like it's
definitely.
impossible,
Yeah.
right? So that was their frustration. Well, now with AI, you can get a summary. Like, give me a summary of this patient that's relevant for cardiac care or for pulmonary care. And it'll give you the summary and it'll tell you the links to the chart that you may want to go visit. So I am super excited about it right now. I think, the burden that was put on by the computer to get access to that data, which is needed for long-term care, is finally going to be lifted. And I think it's going to be a very good day for the doctors and for the nurses too. The nurses do a lot of charting and a lot of things also with the computer, and they don't get to spend as much time with the patients. And I think that'll come back to them.
That's really good to hear, and especially with the amount of probably admin work and stuff like this. I know for a fact that in the Middle East, there's a lot of admin happens in hospitals, like writing down,
Exactly.
So absolutely this will help a lot. My I'm really interested to understand also from you, because that's your field, your kind of playground, the human part. Because of course, if I take the AI and technology where I'm working, like hospitality, and of course the digital experience is really rising, and you don't really need to speak to anybody, you can check in directly, just with your phone. How is this, if we kind of mirror it to healthcare, going to happen? Is it going to be really that human going to be less, connections going to be less, or it's a must? Like, what's happening now, actually?
So I think that most people in the world today, like I was talking to somebody earlier today, and they're getting ready to go on a trip, and they were nervous because they wanted to carry, I don't know, 3 bags with them, and they didn't know if it was going to make big trouble. And I said, well, why don't you just call the airline? And they're like, call the
Huh?
airline? Like,
Oh,
why would I call the airline? I'm like, well, how else are you going to find out what the rules are? And they're like, well, I've talked to ChatGPT and it said it should be okay, but I don't know. So people are already not wanting to like engage with each other in the old fashioned way. So I think what we'll find is that technology is going to remove those simple connections, like the things that have always been sort of like a waste of time. Like, why do I need to do this? Can't somebody just do this automatically for me? But it will then free up time for the conversations that you want to have. So, back in the old day, you would talk to the person setting up your appointment at the clinic on the phone, scheduling it for 15, 20 minutes because they were collecting data about you, your insurance, your date of birth, your identification numbers. And then with the doctor, you only got like 3 minutes of their time because they were too busy doing other things. I think we're going to see that flip flop where you're going to see very little time up front because it's going to scan your driver's license. It's
nice.
going to put all the information into the system. So that part will become less, and then the doctor's burden will be gone, and the nurse's burden will be gone. So they'll be able to actually spend more time with you. And so I think it'll be less interactions day to day, but more meaningful ones.
That's really good to hear, and absolutely the purpose out of using the technology is definitely to make more time for connections, and it's something I've been always talking about. Definitely is it's always about that human connection, that human part that makes
Absolutely.
anything successful. So really good to hear. And I want to move a little bit to, it's almost the last section for the podcast, but I want
Yeah,
to
sure.
take advantage as well from your mindset. I know I've been inspired by your leadership, your mindset, and the way you are actually in life, in business as well. So let's really go to a mindset and how you manage your mindset. So my question is, what has been one of the toughest moments in can be business, can be personal, can be leadership, and what is the lesson that you learned from it?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest challenge I've ever had in my career has been the one that just recently happened. So we had a client who was going to try to take a new electronic medical record system live, and I felt and my leadership team felt that they weren't ready for that. And instead of pushing on that and trying to validate, maybe try to help them, we sort of just said, well, it's their responsibility. I hope they did a good job. And what ended up happening, it was a catastrophic event at the facility, and they ended up turning off the system after just a few days. And it was all because they hadn't done the work they needed to prepare the organization for change. And so the lesson I learned is, again, it's pretty basic. If it feels wrong, it probably is wrong. And you need to find ways to go find out if, in fact, it is wrong. Because you don't want to tell somebody, you've done a bad job if they haven't done a bad job. But could we have gone, could we have looked in different places to determine if in fact it was bad? And had we done that, we would have found it. And then had we known it, we would have been able to make it better. So, trusting too much, trusting but not verifying is a problem. And it really demonstrated itself on this last go live.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. When you think of success, what is success actually means to you?
You know, a lot of people have asked that question, and I think for every person it is different.
Different, yeah, of course.
And I think it changes as you go through your career. Early on in career, I think you're looking for stability. It's always been about being happy. In the Middle East, we had some words that described being a cerner Middle East person. One of the attributes was to be happy. And if you're not happy, you should leave. Like, don't be unhappy. Like, we don't want unhappy people working for us because if you're unhappy working for us, you're probably unhappy to the clients, you're
Yeah,
unhappy to your
exactly.
family, and it's just not good for you. So, if you're not satisfied with what you're doing, if you feel there's something more for you, go and follow that feeling because otherwise, you'll be there 20 years later and you'll say, "Man, I wish I would have done something differently 15 years ago." And
Hmm.
I just don't really want anybody to feel that way. I don't feel that way anymore, even in my personal life. And my wife is pretty much the same, which is if I'm not happy, I'm going to tell you about it. And if we can't fix it, then we're out of here because we don't want to be unhappy. And I think there's too many people in the world that are unhappy and they refuse to take action on it. And I'm not really sure why. So be happy.
Yeah,
It's pretty simple.
that's
Smile a lot.
yeah, it is absolutely true. I think when I go back to the Middle East, when I go back to Egypt every year, I am like stunned with how you can find somebody on the street who have nothing, like literally nothing. And they are the most happiest, you know. And this is for me was like, whoa,
Exactly.
this is really like this is success. Like you said, is to really be happy with where you are, what you have, and accept, and really start from there. And it's always like drive your emotions, drive your feeling. Really nice to hear. And would that be the advice? My next question was like, what is the advice that you would had wish somebody told you 20 years ago? Would that be the one?
Well, that's always been at the front of my mind, but I would say the lesson that Dick Flanagan taught me, and really a gentleman by the name of Eric Ingman in the Middle East, he also taught me. He's like, Mike, you can solve everyone's problems for them, but if they don't know how to solve their own problems, you're going to be the one doing it forever, and your organization's never going to grow. So, how do you make it possible for people to enter into your space? Right? How do you make yourself accessible for them? How do you help them become better? Because if you want to go fast, you go alone. And you can go really, really fast. But if you want to go far, as they say, you need like a team.
Me, a team.
And so valuing people for their individuality is probably the best lesson that I would try to teach my young self, which was very aggressive,
I don't see that.
very competitive, because yeah, you can beat them all, but if you don't have anybody with you, it's a very long and sad journey.
Wow, that's really inspiring. If I hear what you're saying, is definitely a lot of things that a lot of us we forget about. You know, like it's basics, it's simple, like you said, but we because of the distraction of life and everything, you really we forgot about the simplicity and how simple
Exactly.
life is, and you just to be happy. You know? If you
Yeah, exactly.
would choose a country that left an impact on you. You travel a lot. You spend a lot of your time in a lot of different regions. So, what is that country that left impact on you all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, I mean, it's not any one country, but it's the Middle East in general. My time there, I was supposed to be there for 3 years. I was there for 8 years.
Well,
And just the amount of learnings that I did professionally, the amount of growth that I had, the success of our team. Even today, you talk to the associates that are now all over the world, and I get to see them like in a Zoom call and they're like, "Oh, remember back in the day in the Middle East?
yeah,
Like those were the
yes,
days." Like it was a fun place to work,
yeah.
and we accomplished so much, and it was really kinda like a startup business. We were entrepreneurs, like, no, and I don't think anybody in Kansas City actually knew where in the Middle East anybody was. So it was as if we had our own company, and it was really, really wonderful, and I think culturally, learning more about the people in the region, has really helped me become a better expat, a better person who understands more what people from their home country require, and to realize that I'm the guest there. And so I need to adapt myself to them. They don't need to adapt themselves to me. And so all of those lessons have been really, really good.
I'm honored. I feel blessed that I was part of that journey as well with you as well. Like you said, when I look back, it's like, oh, this time it was such an special time. I have learned a lot from you. You know, welcoming you to the hotel and having this conversation was really amazing. I think if I go back to
Yeah.
that time, it was the prime in my career, and I always look back to what I have learned from the relationship. Also, by the way, the relationship I had with you as a client, it taught me a lot in all of my career, and really owe you a lot, definitely from your leadership, but also as a client and as a buyer, you were always listening. You were always making my life easier by being
Mm.
transparent, and that really helped me a lot to grow as well in my career. So I want to take that moment to thank you for that. Definitely,
Most welcome.
it was such a
You're
pleasure.
most welcome.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm an entrepreneur myself, and you've been there, and I want to ask you for advice from me, but also for a lot of people who's really starting something. What are the most important aspects that I should look at as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about having a plan. A lot of people do things without a plan. A lot of people go through life personally without a plan. They just show up one day at five, like 6 years later, and they're like, "How did I get here?" And in some cases, that's a good thing, but in many cases, it's usually not. And so, I would say you have to be patient. Everybody, like, there's not a single person in the planet so successful that didn't start as an infant, as a baby, with no knowledge whatsoever. So everybody has the opportunity, especially now with AI technology. Everyone can learn any subject there is
Yeah,
in the world.
right.
So you just have to be willing to learn. You have to be patient that the plan will come together at some point, but there's no timetable. And I think a lot of people get impatient, and they're wanting things to happen at a certain pace, and it doesn't, and they get disappointed. But if the plan is good, the plan will work. What you can't always determine is how long it will take. But if the plan is good, it'll work. If you're not succeeding, then you need to probably change your plan, and just continue to live that plan. And so that's how I live my personal life. It's annoying for my wife. She doesn't like to have a plan for everything, but I have to have a plan. Otherwise, how do we know for sure it's going to work if we don't have a plan?
That's really golden advice. Thank you, Michael. It was
Yeah,
really
you're welcome.
nice. And absolutely, thank you for your time. I know you're busy, you're always on the go. So I truly
No
appreciate your
problem.
time and your advices. It was honor. And if I always look back into my time in hospitality and working career, the only one thing that I really appreciate is the relationships that I was able to build. Like we're still talking until today. So really thank you for that. And I wish you all the best for what's coming next, and enjoy your coming few months, and we stay in touch definitely.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's always great to see you. I love to see all of the new things that you're always working on. So thank you for having me, and I
Thank
look
you.
forward to talking to you next.
Thank you. Send my regards to the family, and we stay in touch. Thank you, Mike. Have
That
a good
sounds
day ahead.
great. See you later. All
Yep.
right, bye
Thank
bye.
you. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Bye.